Hey guys, it's Miss Cavalier. Sorry, I'm not here today. I'm home with a sick baby, so I'm gonna walk you through today's lesson through two videos. You should have hopefully a partner, um, and you're obviously logged into Google Classroom, and you should have your math book. So what I'd like you to do first is work on page 513, problems 1 through 4 in your math book. Go ahead and pause the video, and then when you're ready, hit play and I will show you the answers so you can check your work. Okay, on page 513, you were reviewing from what we did before break. So if you look at question 1, those were not congruent. You can tell they're not even the same size. Remember, congruent means it's the same size, same shape. So there's no transformation we could do to keep these congruent. If we wanted to look at transformations, we could probably say it was rotated and dilated, but if you remember, a dilation will not keep it congruent. 2 is congruent. We rotated it and translated it. Some of you might have also had a rotation and a reflection, but I would probably say it is a rotation and translation like the book said. Number 3, they turned the N into a Z by rotating 90 degrees and translating it, and rotation and translation don't change the size, so it will stay congruent. 4 was a bit more challenging. You had to graph the original triangle and count the side lengths, and you had to use Pythagorean theorem to find sides C to E, or if you just remember a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Okay, once you reflect it and move it, then your new coordinates are down here. Remember, we put the little apostrophe there to say that that's the copy. So C prime, D prime, and E prime. And you found the new lengths because you just rotated and translated. The size didn't change, so the side should have stayed the same. Alright, now on to the lesson. So we're going to look at congruence still. You're going to write congruent statements. So notice the little tick marks. Those show that side A, B, and D, E are the same. Okay, side B, or excuse me, E, F, and B, C are the same. But notice how they have 2 tick marks and this side only has 1. So these sides are not equal because this one is different than this one, but the ones with the matching tick marks are the same. And the same thing goes for angles. So when we have congruent shapes, their size stays the same, so their side lengths stay the same, but their angles also stay the same. And we use this little symbol here, it's an equal sign with a squiggle above it, to show that this is congruent to this. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Side or angle A is congruent to angle D. Side AB is congruent to DE, and so on. Okay, so in this figure, the 2 triangles are congruent because triangle DEF is the image of triangle ABC reflected over that line. We show that it's congruent by putting this equal sign here. Triangle ABC is congruent to DEF. Whenever we say that this is matching this, see how they have the same tick marks? Those are called corresponding parts or corresponding sides, or in this case C and F would be corresponding angles. And that's the same as when we were looking at parallel lines. We had corresponding angles on the parallel lines. They're in the same spot but on the different shape. So here we have angle B and angle E. Okay, they're equal, they're in the same location, just on the other triangle. Okay, so if we're writing a congruency statement for triangle IGH and JKL, we can write exactly that. IGH is congruent to JKL, and actually, it would be, if you notice, G and J have the same tick marks, so we need to go in order. So it would go L matches I, and then G matches J, and then H matches K. So they would have to go in order, and we would put a triangle symbol in front of both of these to show that we're talking about triangles, and we would have to put our little squiggly above our equal sign to show that triangle IGH is congruent to triangle LJK. And again, pay attention to make sure angle I matches angle L, angle G matches angle J, and H matches K. You could even break it down further depending on what it's asking. You could say that side IG is congruent to LJ, and whenever you're talking side lengths, you have to put a line above them to show that it's a side, and we will add our little squiggle. Okay, we could do that with all the sides. We could do that also with angles. So we could say angle H is congruent to angle K, and put our little symbols in here to show that I'm talking about angles, and put my little squiggle to show that that's congruent. So that's a congruency statement. Any of those. You could list them all out, or you could have just a couple. In the beginning, I want you to list out more just so that you get used to it and I can see that you understand, and as you get better, we can just do a couple just to show me that you know what you're doing. Okay, so in your book, try page 523. Write the congruency statement. Go ahead and write the congruency statement for the quadrilateral, and then write 2 angle congruency statements and 2 side length congruency statements. And I'm not sure the video quality of sound, but if you hear a random heartbeat in the background, that's the baby monitor that's just the sound for her to play while she's sleeping. So don't think that there's like something weird going on. It's just part of the background noise at my house. All right, if you are done with those congruency statements, let's check your answer. Okay, so you can see angle A is congruent to M, K is to O, B is congruent to N, angle S is congruent to P, side AB is congruent to side MN. And if you did not add these tick marks, go ahead and do that just so that you can see how it works, and just see how that relationship is. Okay, after we look at congruency statements, the same thing works when we have it on a picture of a graph. Okay, so we would do the same thing. Triangle ABC is congruent to XYZ, so they're telling you this is matching. So it says compare the corresponding parts, so you're going to do like you just did so you could say side AB is congruent to XY. Okay, side BC is congruent to YZ, and side AC is congruent to XZ. So we have to add our symbols in there. You could do it with a couple of the angles. Okay, and our little squiggle. Oh, that was terrible. Okay, so, and you would do that with some angles also. It also asks you to determine which transformations map those onto each other. So it looks like what we did was we reflected this over here. Well, I guess we're going from AB to this one. So we reflected this over the Y. So we reflection over the Y-axis, and we also, so if I reflected this over here, it would be right here. Let's see, going the other way, it'd be right here. Then it looks like we went down 2. And so when we move or slide, that's a translation down 2 units. Okay, so that's what it's asking. Write me a couple congruency statements and then tell me what transformations did you do. Okay, so go ahead and try the parallelogram on page 523, and then we'll check your work. Okay, looking at the parallelogram, we have the angles here, the sides here, okay, and it looks like we reflected KLMN over the x-axis, and then we went 5 units to the right. So a reflection and a translation also. Okay, and you can pause the video at any time if you need to look at the answers more, check your work, go back, rewind, do what you gotta do so that you understand. Okay, so now this is the end of the first video. The sub has worksheet for you, so go grab the worksheet from the sub and work on that. Once you're done, turn it in and watch the second video.